This week we are talking about Saltburn and written. Yes, Saltburn. Written and directed by Emerald Fennell, starring Barry Cogan, Jacob Elordi, Rosamund Pike, Richard E. Grant, Archie Maddock, Allison Oliver, and Carey Mulligan. Saltburn follows Oxford University student Oliver Quick as he is invited to spend the summer at the estate of his wealthy and popular classmate Felix and his eccentric family. Niles, what are your initial non-spoilery thoughts on Saltburn?
This is honestly a great way to kick off our third year, the 2024 season here, even though it was 2023 when this was released, because I think this is just a fantastic concept for a movie. I think it's just fascinating. I watched this film probably 3 or 4 days ago, and I can't stop thinking about it. It's kind of one of those films I think that kind of sticks with you for a while. I was really impressed by the performance by Barry in this movie too. I think he's just a phenomenal actor, and I was reading a lot of articles on him as we were getting ready for this episode, and man, he really does lean into those creepy, weird roles.
Yeah,
and he somehow always just excels at them. I think he just does a really good job in these kinds of roles. He brings a lot of sympathy to it, and I really think that Saltburn, it's a great film to talk about this week, and I think it's just a great film for just about anyone to go and see and talk about, because I think there's a lot of different ways that you can approach discussions on this film, because it touches on a lot of different things. It's kind of graphic. There's some sexuality themes. There's socialized norms, friendship, love, manipulation, social class mobility. There's so many different ways that you can approach a conversation about this movie, because I think that there's a lot of different themes at play. There's a lot going on here, even though it is kind of a simple story at the end of the day. It's just kind of about this guy and becoming friends with another guy and then interacting with his family. But yeah, I thought this was, I really am pleased with Saltburn, and, without getting too much into spoilers, within the first scene of the film, it kind of opens up with this kind of monologue where he's talking about his love for this other dude. And, off of I went into this movie with didn't watch the trailer, had no preconceptions about what it was. So when I first saw that first few minutes, I was like, oh, is this kind of like a queer coming of age story or something like that? Which, those are great films. But, I was just surprised at the direction that this film took. I was not expecting what happened in this film. The twists were really great, and it really makes me want to rewatch it so I can pick up on all the subtle hints and the way that they kind of drip feed things out. But I'm also honestly surprised that the film is so polarizing too. When you even just Google it, it says 500 5-star reviews and then 500 1-star reviews, and it's what's going on here? What's something here that I'm not getting? I guess. But what about you, Dylan? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I don't think I loved it, but I was thoroughly entertained throughout. And it was not at all what I was expecting. I will say what I was expecting in spoilers, because I don't want to get too much into it, but it went in a lot of different directions than I was anticipating. And like you, I'm honestly a little bit confused by the discourse around this movie, because there are people, and you mentioned from what you've seen, a lot of older people are not really enjoying it, but even people on film Twitter who are our age fucking hate it.
Really?
And I don't really get that. But also, so many people involved in the discourse were just talking about how wild and crazy and out there, and how beyond the pale this movie is. It's no, not really. There are a couple scenes that are kind of raunchy in their own way, but it's some of y'all need to chill out a little bit or watch some more wild shit, because this is, I don't know. It wasn't quite as insane as I was led to believe. But yeah, I thought the performances were great. Jacob Elordi, did he play Elvis in Priscilla? Hold on.
I don't know. I didn't see that one.
Let me see. Yes, he did. So that's the second movie I've seen him in this year. He's really good in this.
He was Felix,
I guess
right?
He was Felix, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think all the performances were really good, like you mentioned, and the production's design, especially of Saltburn itself, which is a place, was really neat. And also the film was in, I guess, 4:3 aspect ratio, which was interesting. And when you watched it, was it like that for you too? Like it was the square and not the full TV?
I don't really remember. I feel like it was the full TV, but I don't know. I don't really fully recall. Was it just square for you, I guess, 4:3?
Yeah, it was just a square.
Okay.
And I'm not sure creatively like why the decision was made, but I kind of was like, oh, it takes place in 2006. I guess that's what TVs were shaped like then. Maybe it was just trying to get into the image of the era, or it was just being pretentious. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that's fair. Different time. You gotta fit the aesthetic if you can, and I think that definitely came through with some of the like costuming too. You know, it was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing people dressed like that in 2006. Like I think they did a good job there of like the different types of shirts and how they were styled. But yeah, it is interesting to see kind of the discussion online and where people are griping about it, where people are really praising it. And I do agree with you. There's wilder shit out there than this, you know. Like there's movies that'll make you go, what the fuck? And you know, this movie, there's definitely scenes that make you go, what the fuck, but it's not every single scene.
Yeah, and the moments we'll talk about later on, but it's more like you watch it and you're just kind of like, ew, like don't do that. Don't do that. But I'm overall pretty positive on it. It was like it had this grime to it the entire time that I appreciated, and it just felt there's like a meanness in a lot of this movie that I think works really well for the story being told. But I enjoyed all the performances and the characters and the relationship sort of evolving and unfolding in the way that they do. Light, no spoilers section, but I'm pretty positive on this. I enjoyed watching it. And I, like you, will probably want to watch it again. Yeah. Any other thoughts before we do spoilers?
No, not really. I mean, I think it's very positive on it as well. Let's dive in because